It's the MMA Insiders, brought to you by the Las Vegas Fight Shop. Steve Cofield is joined by co-host Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports. UFC 130 is in town, and the fellas are getting warmed up down at the Cox Pavilion for tonight's Tough Enough event. Now, here are your hosts, Steve Cofield and Kevin Iole.
Here we go, the MMA Insiders. On a Friday, every Friday, 6 to 7. I think it is America's only afternoon drive MMA show. We have that kind of dedication. Kevin Iole is here with us. All right, let's do the opening round. Clay Baker's running the controls. It's very structured. It's almost mean at the back end because there will be a buzzer at the 2 minutes. So
I can't talk a lot like I usually do.
Well, you know what? The 2 minutes it's a lot, but we want to move it quickly. But whenever the buzzer goes off, we move on. I think it's really interesting what's going down with Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes. No one does this, but I think guys are learning their lesson. If you didn't hear this week, Chad Mendes is not willing to wait for Jose Aldo and uncertainty with an injury to fight in Philadelphia on August 6th. So he has taken a fight, which means that he could lose that fight and lose the title shot. Clay, if you can, fire. Dana White was talking about the Aldo injury and possibly why Mendes just is not willing to wait.
I honestly don't know the answer to that one either. I know that he is hurt. His shoulder, he's got a problem with his shoulder. And I think that the confusion might be is they don't know if he's going to have surgery yet or not. He's going to try to rehab it.
And then you see at the end of 6 weeks. So that's why Chad didn't want to wait because it could be delayed.
Exactly. John Morgan chiming in at the end there. All right, 2 minutes have started. What do you think of this? Is Mendes making a big mistake here? I've heard people say
brilliant move.
He's ducking Aldo. What?
He is not ducking Jose Aldo. Look, all you have to know is look at Rashad Evans and what happened to him. He's been out for over a year. He thought he had the title shot. How many times? He doesn't have it. Now he's fighting Phil Davis. John Jones may end up fighting somebody else. I think that Chad Mendes made the only decision that was right for him. You need to stay active. You don't want to be sitting out, especially when you're fighting a guy like Jose Aldo. You want to be active on top of your game, and I think Mendes made the absolute right decision.
Do you believe, like me, that the Aldo injury is more serious than they're letting on, and there is a lot of, he may need surgery. Who knows?
Watching him at UFC 129 last month, he did not seem to be the same Jose Aldo Jr. to me. And all due respect to Mark Hominick, I think Jose Aldo is a cut above pretty much everybody in the UFC in that weight class. And so I think that said to me, hey, there's something going on with this guy.
All right. Back to the Mendes side of things. I'll tell you, fans and some of the MMA media, you can't win. If you take a fight like this, then they say you're ducking. To me, it's staying active. Here's the other part of it. I saw one guy write that, hey, he's doing this because he needs the money. I don't think people understand what goes on behind the scenes at UFC, that Chad Mendes may make his, $18,000 or $20,000 in this next fight, but for stepping up and taking the risk, what happens behind the scenes?
Well, they're going to definitely take care of him because, and he also gets sort of favored nation status because what Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta have done since the early days, back when they bought it with Matt Hughes and Chuck Liddell being the two most prominent examples at that time, is they'll give him extra bonuses and they'll put them in spots to take advantage of the fact that they did go ahead and step up and fight on in a bad situation.
And the question was posed to Frank Mir, the big heavyweight, the former UFC champion, about fighting Roy Nelson, a friend. What's it like to go in there and have to turn it on? Is it tough when there's no animosity?
No, it does make it a little bit easier as far as when we talk about the fight to build it up. I have a lot of mutual friends and family members at times. Roy and I get it, that they don't understand it. But as far as when it comes down to the fight, I think the hard time I think a lot of people find with fighters is that if my wife were to get in the ring with me, I would try to knock her out and choke her unconscious.
Okay, I don't know that will bring you a backroom bonus, but it is honest, and that is Frank Mir, but you get what he was saying, right?
I think Jenny must have cooked a bad meal or something at that point, and just, no, just a joke. I think, I totally understand what he's saying, and that's the right attitude to have. I wrote a column a couple weeks ago in Yahoo Sports, and I said, I'm against this whole BS of teammates not fighting each other and friends not fighting each other. It's competition. If you're related, if you're brothers, I'll grant you that. Say, okay, you know what, mom's going to get upset and have a heart attack. I'll give you that one. But if you're in the same team, you're in the same camp. You know what? It's competition, and especially at the highest level. Hey, we'll let them, kind of slide down at the, at the entry level. But when you get up and it's going to mean something, and there's significance on the line, there's big money on the line, of course you have to do it.
I do believe, though, with younger fighters, less experienced fighters, they can fall victim to liking a guy and then losing their edge. These two guys, I don't think that'll happen, but I think it happened. We saw it with Pat Barry.
Well, I think he was in awe of Crow Cop when that happened, and that was the biggest thing. That he was just intimidated, I think, and didn't fight his fight. But Frank Mir and Roy Nelson are veteran guys. They've been around. They understand what the business is all about. And you got to love Frank Mir. I mean, I know he gets some hate. I don't understand that at all. The guy is a great fighter. He's willing to fight anybody, and he's one of the funniest guys out there.
I like both guys. I like them because they're extremely candid, brutally honest. But I will say one thing that I don't think they're being honest about. They're acquaintances.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not like that angle got played up like, oh, there's no heat. They're not best friends, believe me.
No, I don't think they dislike each other, Steve. I think they're guys that lived in the same town, that work in the same business, so occasionally they run into each other, so they know each other, hey, how are you? And they have that, but they're not friends. They don't socialize together. There's no connection between them other than the fact that they work in the same business.
Ooh. Wow, you're good.
Period.
Unbelievable. All right. It's Iole and Cofield, the MMA Insiders. We're doing our opening round, our 5 big stories. Let's get to story number 3, which actually had a little change today that we'll address. Brian Stann is fighting George Santiago. It looked like there was a possibility of something grand afterwards if Stann won the fight, but that changed today. But I wanted Kevin to hear what Stann said about George Santiago, a highly touted fighter. He said he was very fired up to face him instead of Wanderlei Silva.
And in all honesty, let's face it, I got a tougher opponent who's better for my career. I mean, look who George Santiago is. He's a champion, 11-1 the last 4 years, basically undefeated, multiple belts, and I have everything, so much more to gain from this fight than I would have fighting Wanderlei Silva.
All right, that is Brian Stann at his best. A little political there. I think George is a really good fighter. No one knows who he is. The casual fans. A win over Wanderlei Silva puts it sets you up with a new name and mega fights down the road. It's a good win, but a win over Wanderlei would have been bigger.
Yeah, I was surprised the way he said that, the way that he said that he gets more out of a win over George Santiago than he does over Wanderlei Silva. I think Wanderlei Silva is still one of those guys that's iconic in this sport, and while his heyday was 4 or 5 years ago, he's beloved by the people, and whoever he fights, it becomes a big event just by the fact that Wanderlei Silva's in there, Steve. And I think Brian Stann is making a mistake, but Brian Stann, I think, is one of those company men type guys, and he's doing and saying what the UFC wanted. And I think, basically, not to be missed, this is coming not long after the UFC Fan Expo, and they told them how to talk to the media, how to talk at press conferences, and I think Brian Stann, one of the smarter guys there, he picked up on the training and he just put it into action at the press conference, trying to sell the fight as a bigger fight.
Now, one of the other things that was a possibility for Stann with a win over George was a tough 14 coaching slot, but that changed today. And you know what? I think they nailed it again. I thought they had nailed it with Lesnar.
No way.
You don't like it. Jason Miller and Michael Bisping.
Well, I saw Dana White said the other day at the press conference that coaching on tough is not just a reward, that these are guys that are going to teach somebody. How many wins in the UFC does Mayhem Miller have? How about 0?
Well, he had one fight, didn't he?
He has no.
He fought George St. Pierre, Kevin.
And right, he has a rookie George St. Pierre, and he has no wins in the UFC. Period. So how does a guy like this get a slot like that, where theoretically it's supposed to go to the elite guys? I just don't see it.
He is 37-0 on Bully Beatdown,
and it's phony heat. I think that's the other thing I don't like about it. It's phony. I think they're trying to get somebody that was going to antagonize Michael Bisping.
Oh, he will. And
time's up.
That's it. Yeah, I like it. Well, that'll be an argument for down the road, but anyway.
I say myself.
All right, topic 4. Yeah, we've had a interesting discussion off the air. Reynolds, who's helping us out down here about retirement. We saw guys like Roy Jones in boxing, and then Dan Severn fighting at 83 years old. So the topic of when to retire came up at the press conference. A couple of bites here from Rampage, who's 32, going to be 33 soon, has talked about lacking the traditional expected desire that we expect to hear from fighters. But he talked about retirement and possibly being done in like 2.5 years at 35 years old.
I made my mind up when I first started fighting that I wouldn't fight past 35. That's all I knew. When I get 35, I feel like I'll be an old man for this sport. So, what I'm saying? I just decided that years ago. But, you know, I got a lot of things I want to do. I got these finger painting things I really love doing. I really love that stuff. Finger painting. I'm actually getting good at it now. I made a peacock the other day.
Who doesn't like a peacock, right? Get that finger painting. Rampage on retirement. Can you actually set a number on how many guys really stick to that age?
You know, very few guys set a number like that. But you know what? I admire what he's doing there. I question whether he'll be able to do it at 35, but I admire the idea that, hey, you want to get out. And everybody's different. I don't think that you can sit there and say there's a blanket age. Don't fight past 35 or don't fight past 40. I think what you have to do is take your own particular circumstances. And the number one thing is your health. You cannot put your health at risk. Roy Jones, obviously, in boxing, is putting his health at risk. If Andrei Arlovsky were to come back and still fight Steve in MMA, I think he would be putting his health at risk, and the commission would almost be criminal to license him. But Rampage Jackson is still good. He's 33 years old next month, I think a week away. Still looks good. He's still fighting top guys. Doesn't have any problems. If he gets through these 2 years and feels like, hey, you know, I have to pay my lawyer fees,
Yeah.
I say, you know what, go ahead, go for it, because you're still okay. It just gets to the point where when you're getting concussed all the time and you're getting knocked out, that then I think it becomes an issue.
I think it's cool that he's thinking about his future. I also think it's admirable for a fighter to go, this is who I am. I don't like training. I'm in pain all the time. I really don't like the whole nutrition thing. And I don't live and die with this.
Right.
You can say that?
Yeah, he was very honest. I mean, and in the story I did on Yahoo Sports, we talked to him a little bit before the press conference the other day, and he was talking about the pressure of fans, you know, in the bathroom, chasing after him when he goes to the bathroom. And he said, you know, it's a tough existence, and I understand that. I think essentially Rampage Jackson is a private guy who was thrust into a very public situation, and he's handled that fairly well, but I think he's starting to get tired of it.
If he's champion, hey, Bake, we're going to do Pettis around 22 if we can, so we can set that up. Thank you. See, I got buzzed. Okay, last one. Ready? Let's fire on. This is the one I know Kevin is most fired up about because it's been going. Yeah, I know. You don't clench the fist there. Dana White is not happy with what's gone down with Chael Sonnen. Sonnen right now is kind of in limbo. Kevin disagrees with it. We'll set him up here in a second. But I wanted to play bite number one. Dana really kind of broke his silence, you know, after this indefinite thing came down last week, saying that he is really not pleased with the way Chael has been treated.
If you look at boxing, man, there's been situations where guys have put weapons inside their hands and fought another human being. You know what I mean? There's been instances where people have assaulted other people in the ring. There have been instances where guys have done, I mean, let me ask you a question. Floyd Mayweather's been running around town punching everybody in the face, threatening people and doing all this stuff. Watch how fast Floyd Mayweather gets licensed.
All right.
That was a statement, not a question, by the way.
Yeah.
Here's my take on this. I disagree with what Dana says right now, and I disagree vehemently with him. Now, will that change? Well, it'll only change if there's a set of facts that's not known right now. I'm actually going to talk to Chael Sonnen later tonight and kind of try to look into this and, you know, see what's going on. But as the facts as I know them right now, Dana is full of it. He's wrong. For number one, Chael was suspended for 6 months, and he hasn't even served the 6-month suspension. So I don't see how Dana's saying, well, he's already paid his dues when the 6 months isn't even up. Now, if you get past the 6 months, maybe he has an argument right now. But, you know, I think Dana was speaking more on emotion there than he was really thinking about the situation. Now, I'm just going to say, you know, because I talked to Chael briefly before I came in here, and he said there are some circumstances that, you know, he wanted to share. And if those circumstances are such that, you know, hey, he was really wronged, I'll change my opinion, and we'll talk about it next week. But as I stand here right now, I think it's BS, and that he got the penalty he deserved.
Okay.